Certainly it's possible that some of the people in those companies didn't know, but I find it hard to believe that that wasn't already agreed to, that the company somewhere in the company, the COO or CEOs, knew that and agreed to this kind of access. Because it's hard to believe that they could not notice that they're being drained of information. That's pretty difficult.
And you have, on the other hand, lawmakers on Capitol Hill. We went out as a group in our team and we interviewed people on the streets. And one after another person said that they are not only okay with this type of surveillance, that they actually encourage it if it thwarts terrorism. So talk about this debate between civil liberties and national security. Should it be either or in this case?
No, you can have both. The point is you could filter out all the domestic communication that isn't connected in any way with any terrorist, or even close to a terrorist, like 2 degrees of separation in the communications networks or the communities you're building. You can reduce it to that, and if you're not in that zone, then all your data is thrown away, and that would eliminate 99.99% of the U.S. population and the world. So, but they don't do that, okay? And so this business of saying you have to, that's where they're getting back to the idea and saying and bamboozling Congress and the administration to suggest that they need to collect it all to figure it out. That's simply false.
So what can we really do to protect ourselves? Is there anything we can do to protect ourselves here? Not
really. There's not really anything you can do. I mean, except to fire everybody in Congress and the administration and elect new people in that will do a constitutionally acceptable job.
And speaking of Congress, how much did they know? How could they be okay with it? How did so much of this just start coming out with the Verizon leaks, with this PRISM? How are we just finding out about this in an administration that touts transparency?
Well, it's because it's not transparent. I mean, they have secret interpretations of laws, and they're doing this in secret and not telling anybody. I mean, Senator Wyden and Udall have been complaining about this for several years now. So they were on the intelligence committees, so those committees had an idea what was going on, but the rest of them in Congress didn't have the foggiest idea. So, I mean, and for example, they're using Section 215 of the Patriot Act to say it's okay for them to get that. That had to do with commercial data, held data, of like if I send an email, my service provider would be holding it, so that's a third party, and they say it's a commercial third party, and all that data is legitimate for them to collect, when in fact it isn't, even under the Patriot Act, because the Patriot Act was designed, and according to Representative Sensenbrenner, who wrote the Patriot Act, he was saying today that you know, it was intended to resolve issues with foreign intelligence of threats from terrorists. Well, domestic communications is not foreign, and there's no threat there. There's no relationship of threat. There's no probable cause or any indication that any of that data that they're collecting about the vast majority of U.S. citizens is in any way related to terrorism.
That was going to be my next question. What does the Patriot Act mean to American freedoms?
It means we don't have any. It's setting up a totalitarian state. When the government has that much information, they can do those things. They can use the IRS to intimidate people or anything else. They can send the FBI at people, what they did to me, and some others. You know, so that's the power that government has. They have that. They have the power of the gun and the force, and if they have the knowledge about you, then they can start to use that against you, especially if you don't agree with the policies that they're setting up.
So let's go back to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, as a lot of us know it. The first word of that act is foreign, and that was built back in the 70s. It applied to foreign enemies then, but in the 30 years since, 40 years since, we've seen it applied to Americans more times than not. Will we see the same thing happen with PRISM?
Yes, absolutely. That's what's going on. That's what's been going on for 7 years with the PRISM program, but even before that, back to 2003, the NARIS devices were collecting that data. Now what that meant was they didn't have enough NARIS devices to collect everything, so they had missing bits of it, like they might get 80% of the emails sent, you know, and then not all of them. So in order to get them all, they have to go to the service provider who stores all of them for a certain period of time and then have a warrant to request to get them. So that will fill in the gaps that they're missing. Sure. So that's why they're doing it. They're also, if I would point out, the warrant says the request is being made by the FBI. But the order says send the data to NSA. So that tells you the relationship between the FBI and NSA. The NSA has the algorithms to process it and package it and make it look pretty and reduce the problem to the point where FBI agents can look into it easily and manage and analyze data more faster and be more complete at what they look at. So that shows you the level of cooperation between the FBI and NSA.
Now, when you were working for the NSA, talk about, you had helped create a program, as I understand it, that's similar to PRISM for our foreign enemies. Did you know about PRISM then?
No, I mean, PRISM didn't. I left the NSA in 2001 at the end of October, and the PRISM program, according to the paper anyway, was started in 2007. So I didn't know about that, but I was, that data was very simply filtered out using techniques that if this was a U.S. citizen, you'd throw that data away. If this was a foreigner that wasn't within 2 zones or 2 degrees of separation in close proximity to a bad guy doing bad things, we wouldn't even look at them. Okay, we'd throw it all away. And that meant that we reduced the problem of all the massive amounts of data down to a manageable amount. So we wouldn't need to build Bluffdale or any other large storage sites. We could easily manage the storage as well. And if you collect all that, that means wherever you collected it, then you have to transport it from there to your storage, so that we eliminated that communications cost too.
So now instead of throwing that Americans' data out, they're keeping it. So is it as simple as just getting rid of that algorithm that helped them throw it out and sort through it?
That algorithm would, of course, be able to eliminate that data, yeah, if they adopt it.
And finally, just working for the NSA in the past, do you regret that? Or does it give you the knowledge of what the NSA has done so that you can do it in the report to people in the future?
No, it was, I didn't regret anything I was doing, because there were real issues, real threats, and real potential threats that we had to try to discover to see if you could diplomatically or whatever avoid them. So I mean, that was a very a positive effort against the real potential threats. So it had nothing to do with collecting data or information about innocent people around the world. So I mean, it didn't. I didn't regret doing any of that. But the problem was they turned that against everybody, and that's where I have a problem.
Bill Benny is a 32-year veteran of the NSA and turned whistleblower. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you.